and a few other things about Joinfs for milsim use. So, first thing you're going to do is you're going to go download it. I'll put the link because for some reason the version that I found that works has disappeared from their website. So I'll put a link to the version I've got on my Google Drive. I'll put that link in the same post as this video. So you're going to download it from the Google Drive. It's nice and quick to download. There we go, done. So from there, you're going to go install. Click more info if you've got, this is Windows 10. Click run anyway. It's not dangerous, it's just Windows 10 warning because you're running an exe. You're going to go ahead with the install. I'm not going to do it because I've already got it installed, but you use the default directory or change it. It's pretty irrelevant either way. Okay, once it's installed, best thing to do is change the properties to run as admin every time. I'm not sure if it makes a difference, but if it does, it's done anyway. You're then going to run the program. New version. Okay, this hasn't come up for me before. Let me just check, see if there is a new version. I don't believe there is. This is a test version, the latest test version. So let's just go to the Joinfs website. No, so 1.4.20 is the latest released version, and we're on 1.4.23, which is the latest test version. So yeah, so there's no need to update. Okay, once you're in, you are going to start your sim. It's irrelevant what sim you use. Joinfs will happily connect P3D, FSX. It does work for X-Plane, but no one uses X-Plane on this organisation because, well, what's the point? There's no weapon system available. So I've only just started my computer, so the first run takes a little longer to load. Okay, on the first run, you'll get a window pop up asking you if you want to scan for models. So, once your simulator started, that is, it'll on the first time it'll pop up automatically. But I'm gonna make it pop up on mine just to show you. You can see what my main hobby is. Feel free to fast forward to P3. There we go. Right, so once your sim's loaded, you can be in the menu screen, I believe. Your scan for models thing will come up automatically. Okay, let's restart Joinfs so it kicks in. There we go. So, what we had there was these two boxes were both red like that. So if you've got Joinfs started before the sim, it won't automatically connect to the simulator. But if you start it after you've started the sim, it'll automatically connect to the simulator. But even so, you can click this button, simulator, and it will connect and turn green. Okay, once it's connected to the sim, scan for models. Okay, so you're going to select your directory that you want to scan, And what you're going to do, you're going to select all of these boxes because that will sync up all TACPack AI objects as well. So select everything and scan. I have 5,840 models. They're not all flyable. It's because I have an AI package installed for that sim. You're going to click OK. Okay, the next window that will come up for you is it'll give you options for a single prop, twin prop, airliner, rotorcraft, glider, fighter, and bomber. Now you can set whatever you want that's in your library. These are the default substitutes. So I'm quickly going to change all mine anyway to a Cessna. That way, you know, if you're seeing a Cessna, it means you're getting a substitute, unless someone's actually flying a Cessna. If you've got the model that someone's loaded in, it will replace it with the exact model that they have. If not, it may replace it with the default, or it may try and find a close model. But even if it doesn't select the right model, you can, before you take off, manually re-substitute them for any aircraft you want. Right, once all those are done, after the last one, everything will just disappear and you'll be left with this window. So from here, we're now going to set up Joinfs. You're going to go to File, Settings. You'll get this little window pop up. Okay, so always on top. You can put that on if you want. I don't, because I don't want it always on top. Don't worry about these colours. Auto refresh. Keep that on. That's important for later. I'll explain. Nickname. You're best to put your call sign. So I'm RAFAir01, RFR01. That's what I'll appear as. Circle of activity and follow distance. I've got mine to the maximum. You can have it less if you want, but if you put it to the maximum, you'll pick up aircraft within 600 miles visually. These were on as default: model scan on connection and elevation correction. I've not changed them. I've not had problems yet. Okay, choose local port by default isn't selected, but just to cover it, choose a port that you've already got open for FSX. So 611 or P3D, sorry, 6112 and 6122. That port range is the port range P3D and FSX use for multiplayer. So I've gone right in the middle, 6118. Don't tick auto join at launch because you don't want to auto join at launch. Alright, do not tick low bandwidth unless you really have to. I haven't tried it, but I suspect it makes formation more bumpy. Joinfs is pretty good at syncing up aircraft for formation. I suspect that will make it worse if you put low bandwidth on. So auto broadcast VRS TACPack, so you need that on. I'll explain later the limits we've got and what does work and what's workaround. But you need that ticked, or else TACPack won't work at all anyway. Once all that's done, you can ignore the rest, leave it at default, click OK. From here, right, what we're going to do, I'm going to create. So this ID in the me box is automatically generated. The 6118 represents the port, and the first thing the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 digits represent my ID. It's unique to you, so no one else will have the same ID, which is why it's so long. When I click create, which I'm going to do now, okay, so the network has now gone green, and join has greyed out. So that's indicating that I have a Joinfs network up. Joinfs is not a host client based operation. So there we go, right. So I've just clicked view, and you can view all different windows. You've got a chat window, you've got your aircraft window, which I've already got up. Users, you can see what users. So this is all the people connected to the same network as you. Hubs. Hubs, we're not too bothered about. This will be what we're looking at getting a MilAirSim hub set up so that you can just join the hub, and there's no need for any unique IDs and connecting to people individually. Bookmark, so you can bookmark one. Recorder, don't really know what that does, never used it. Objects, this shows you all the objects currently in. and then monitor just shows you sort of a log of what's happening. So the only window I really have up is aircraft. So when I said we auto refresh earlier, it means you don't have to press this refresh button to see someone that joins. While we're doing this, I'm just going to load into my sim. Okay, so if someone wanted to join me now, what they would need to do is type my ID into their join button, into their join box, sorry, and press the join button. Once they've done that, they'll connect to the same network as me. As soon as they're actually loaded into the sim, even if they're not, it'll still connect you to the network, and as long as your simulator is connected, once you've loaded in, you'll be in the same. I don't want to say multiplayer, but you'll be in the same server as such, but it's not a server. And once you're in, this list will populate with more people. Yeah, so best advice is these weather buttons and broadcast buttons, I wouldn't touch them. When you've got other people in this list, other people connected, there are a few things you can do. You can right mouse click on them. So if it's not substituting correctly, so if they're in a beach bar and they tell you they're in a beach bar and it's substituting for a Cessna, you can right mouse click on them and click substitute. Sorry, just turn the flight sim sound off. Okay, you can see that this is populated now with a few of the surrogate VRS objects. Now, as long as you've set it up exactly how I've done it and not fiddled with anything else, you won't visually see these because they'll automatically substitute themselves for the VRS AI objects, which are invisible if they're surrogates, even if you're using FSX or P3D, because they're all named the same, so it will substitute correctly. So, but if you need to resubstitute for someone because you haven't got the aircraft and you want to substitute them for something similar, or you've got a different version, it's just not working, click substitute, the box will come up, you'll choose to substitute them. Follow, you'll basically follow their aircraft, it'll put you behind them. Enter cockpit, so that's a shared cockpit. We have done a little bit of testing, that's one of the limitations. It does work, but if you try it, you'll see how joggy it is. Now what it does, as soon as you click that, your aircraft will be almost paused where it was, and you'll be placed in their aircraft, as long as you obviously have their aircraft. And then there's then options for handing over control. We're not going to use it as a combined operations wing. We're not going to use it at all. And we've tested it, and it's not up to what we need it to be, so it's easier just not to use. Copy weather, so you can copy weather. It will basically look at what weather the person you clicked on is transmitting and copy it to yourself, and remove from recorder, which we don't use recorder. So down here you've got a little bit of information when you click on someone, what they're squawking, what their COM1 and COM2 is set to. Now these rules and to and from, that's if they've got a flight plan loaded in the flight sim GPS. That'll come up with what rules they're flying, where it's to, where it's from. You've got their bearing, so that's their bearing from you if you were to fly to them. Obviously I'm clicking on myself, so my bearing's 0 because there is no bearing anyway. You can ignore aircraft. If you click ignore, you won't visually see them. Don't unclick this broadcast option. Whatever you do, just leave everything basically. Don't be unticking any of these. You can show all public aircraft. They're just anyone else, not on the current server, but in general on Joinfs. Okay, so once you're in, that's it. If someone's joined the network right next to me, I would see them next to me. I've got a couple of videos on my YouTube where we've used Joinfs, and that will show you sort of how it operates. So the few issues that we have figured out is so TACPAC transmits the damage. You can transmit all your missiles being fired, all your bombs, all your guns. They all transmit across the network, and you will see it come off other people's aircraft, and you will also see the damage happen. So we tested using FSX at war, P3D, P3D, and FSX. So we've tested across platform, and the people you fly with, their bombs will cause damage to your targets, and yours will cause damage to theirs. So it does sync the bomb fall. One thing we do get is the effect that's caused when a bomb hits the ground, sort of the small black cloud, tends to stay around, which we found not really to be an issue. It stays around because it's an effect that's transmitted and it doesn't disappear until obviously a sim restart. Weapons under wings, so they all sync up when they're released, but depending on the TAC pack load, so if you've got FSX at war loaded and like several aircraft, you may not see when people load weapons under their wings. So, for instance, me and Stephen have done a couple of flights where it was just us, and I could see the weapons he was putting under his wing, he could see the weapons putting under my wing. But when we got into three of us with FSX at war also running, it's just a lot of TAC pack to sync, and it doesn't show me them putting weapons under their wings, even though they are. We found that a small issue and not really a problem. Shared cockpit, as I've already mentioned, is not the best. You can try it, but you'll see for yourself. So when you're in formation, you do need your frame rates locked, just like you do with P3D and FSX at war already, to roughly the same, so you don't see the aircraft sort of vibrating that you're flying with. But even when that's done, you see a very slight wobble, not a vibrating. It's like the aircraft's going through a small patch of turbulence for the aircraft you fly with. The closer you get, the more noticeable it is. Like I said, check out a couple of the videos that I've done very recently. Tell you what, I'll link one of the videos that we did for a mission the other day, and you if you're looking for it, you'll see it, but it's not really a big issue. The formation's pretty smooth. I'd say it's just as good as joining a multiplayer. When taxiing, you'll see if you're following someone, if they turn a corner, there's a slight delay in the turn of the aircraft. So what will happen is they'll turn the corner on their screen. On your screen, the aircraft won't turn. It will sort of slide like it looks like it's losing connection, but then it will turn into the corner. It's very slight. It's a minor delay, and it only happens when taxiing. It's quite strange, but again, it's not something we're mega worried about because of the benefits of Joinfs. And then the last issue is tankers. So if I was to spawn a tanker, I can take fuel from it. Everyone can still see it. It transmits onto the server as long as they've got the correct. Well, if you put in a VRS tanker, a default VRS tanker, anyone with TAC pack, it will transmit. They'll see the same tanker you're seeing in the same position. What happens is the person who spawns the tanker can take fuel as normal. Everyone else can see it and fly to it, but they won't automatically receive fuel from the tanker because that does not transmit across the network. On our wing, we have one of our guys who's a software designer. He's designed us a program which he says is easily adaptable to. Actually, I'll get the program up actually. Okay, so that's the tanker. Cool, so that's just telling me this aircraft model is not supported. So we do player-to-player tanking as well. So for this, we have a tanker gauge, which we can set, but that's sort of irrelevant for what I'm trying to get across now. So this gauge, he's got an AAR receiver. This is designed for our Typhoon and F-35s. So you can type in the amount of fuel you require, or press to full, and it will detect how much you've got in your tanks and fill it up. Let me switch into a Typhoon so it actually works. He can quite easily adapt this to the F-18 as well. Probably, to be honest, any other aircraft that needs it, he just has to edit the internal configs of this small program he's designed. Okay, there we go. We're in a Typhoon. So if I was to click to full, right? Okay, so it doesn't give me a value, but it acknowledges the fact that it's going to fill it up all the way. Right, so I'm going to click to fill externals, fill my left, fill my right. And once I'm behind the tanker and happy that I'm ready to take fuel, I just click start. It will then tell me. It will then do it. So let's just put in £2,000. So I'm going to stop that. And now we're going to start it. So what that'll do, that'll count down. Right, because I've got full fuel already. Let me just empty. Sorry, this is getting a little complicated to show you. Right, there we go. So I'm empty. So I've asked it to give me 2,000. Let's say to full, and I'll start the refuel. Hang on. Right, okay, let's start that program again. It's because I was not in the right aircraft. Right, there we go. It's detected that I've got a supported model, and it's detecting capacities and everything. So this is what he can configure to the right to any aircraft basically. So I'm going to click to full. I'm going to ask it to fill. So it's detected I haven't got external tanks on. If I put external tanks on, and restart the program. So I'm going to click to full, fill centerline, fill left and right externals. I'm going to click start. That's then going to start flowing fuel, and it's flowing it at 400 gallons per minute, I think it is, which is the correct rate. So it's telling me how much I've received. Time required is 325 seconds. So if I put a value in here, there you go, it's telling you how much it's going to put in. It's going to put in £16,000 because that's what it takes to full. Now, should I disconnect halfway, I click manual stop. It will stop it, but it will only have the remaining balance left in here. I can start it again. It will start again. It will start ticking down. Then if I stop it again, it only has the remaining balance, so you can carry on with that. This is a program we're looking to get for the organisation so that everyone can do the work around using Joinfs. Or on the other hand, if it doesn't come up that much, you could always just spawn individual tankers just so you could get fuel in the normal way. We don't see it as a problem on our squadron. If anyone has a problem with it and doesn't understand it or anything I've said, please message me rather than just not flying and not trying this. This is the way we're looking at going with the organisation because the servers it seems to be having more problems than this would. Because you're in single player, because you actually load in single player, you don't even go into the multiplayer system on either sim. You can change your aircraft location at any point. You can also set your own time and season and your own individual weather and your own individual realism. So it's pretty versatile. So you can fly how you want to fly, even if the person you're flying with wants to fly slightly different. I'm not sure if I forgot anything. So let's quickly. So to disconnect, right? If you have a flight simulator crash, all that will happen is you'll stay connected to the network. Your simulator will go red because it's no longer got a simulator to connect to. So if you've got autosave, which is what I've got, you could just load your previous autosave, pause for a second. Once you reload it in, click simulator. That will reconnect Joinfs to your simulator, which is already connected to the network, and you'll be straight back on. It's a lot quicker to set up because we're not going into the multiplayer system. It's more versatile in how we can use it. TACPack syncs for 95% of things. And yeah, so If you wanted to disconnect just from whoever you connected to the network, um, let's say I was connected to two other people who had joined my ID. So it's irrelevant if I disconnect. What happens is it maintains the same ID they're flying on, and the connection will still be up for them even if I leave. If someone wants to join them, they will have to use the ID that they've joined. That's why I say it's not so much client server based. It's direct peer-to-peer, but using IDs. Once we've got a hub, it'll be a lot easier because you'll just go to hubs, you'll click on the hub, and you'll just click join, and then that's that. Um, don't think there's a password on the hubs, but what we can do is set it to a specific port that only we get given. We can change it now and then to keep us secure. So let's disconnect from the network. So I can't remember whose ID this is, but it's someone I've flown with. So instead of creating one, if you were to join one, you'd put the person's ID that you're connecting to or connecting with in there. Click join. Okay, so mine's gone orange because obviously that's not an active ID at the minute, but it would normally go green and you connected in the same way. One last thing to go over is in the aircraft list, which is really the only one I have up. You'll have like a call sign, and then these with an A after it. I think it stands for AI. Now AI does transmit. That's why these are transmitted onto the server. So if someone has their road traffic on, or sea traffic on, or even air traffic on, it will transmit onto the Joinfs and everyone else will see it. So it's best to, most people do it anyway, but best to turn all AI off within the sim to avoid that happening. We've tested the system player versus player, player versus CCP, and player versus FSX at war, and everything seems to sync. You can shoot each other down on separate sims, on P3D versus FSX, as well as on the same sim. It all syncs up and damage happens. Last couple of things to mention, I forgot to mention earlier. So you will be able to spawn a carrier, and you will be able to receive the TAC and an ILS for that carrier. But much like the tanker, other players won't get the TAC and won't get the ILS for the tanker or the carrier. It's not a massive issue for us, but if that is an issue, please let us know. There's not much we can do about it. We are going to go this way, but we might be able to somehow find a workaround to try and get it fixed. So other than that, I think we are fully explained. If anyone has any questions or thinks I haven't mentioned anything, please reply to the post that I'm putting this video in, and just let me know, and we'll try and answer those best we can. So for now, enjoy flying. This is an authorized connection method as it stands now. From the moment this is posted, you aren't required to be on the server if you're using Joinfs. That does create issues. So it's either Joinfs or a server. Ideally, if someone is flying, just go check with them, because if they're using Joinfs, you could join their server. But if you're not flying anywhere near them, you might see there's no point. But we are going to keep it, reword the operations document to state that you must be connected to Joinfs or a server. So if someone is flying already, they should already be running a Joinfs. If they're the only one flying, they'll have created it, and you just need to join it for now. Once we've got a hub set up, it's fairly easy because everyone will just join the same hub, and it puts a lot less strain on the servers because we haven't yet tested it, but we believe that even if the server sim crashes, it will still keep the network up. So we believe you don't actually need the server to run a simulator to stay connected, because it will still hold the network for people to connect to. But that's not yet tested. I need to test that with a couple of people. Okay, so for now that's this video done. Any questions, post below. Thanks for watching.